everyone, welcome again to the Iconist podcast, where the icon is, and that's what we're going to talk about today. As you know, I'm Barry 3D for Deep Dark Delicious. Hey, and on my side, as always, is the one and only, my co-host, my cousin, my friend, my compadre, the one and only.
Oh, that's me. I'm that guy. DJ Rod C. Good evening, good afternoon, and good day. Welcome to Iconist. Good day. Welcome.
Dude, you kill me. And you kill me. And we are so happy to be joined today by this comedian, headlining comedian, touring comedian. I met him and performed with him, and friggin' hilarious. The one and only Larry Smith. Larry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Barry. Good to see you, DJ Rod.
Good to see you, Mr. L. Oh, yeah. Larry's in the building.
You know, so today is a Barry, Larry, Rod episode. It's like Daryl. It's like my brother Daryl. And it's my other brother Daryl.
Do you know what I always say to people who say that? They go, "Oh, your name's Larry? Where's Daryl and the other Daryl?" I go, "Buried in my backyard with the other people who told me that joke."
So your name is Mr. Larry, right? That's good day, Mr. Larry. How are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like something? Would you like something to drink? Thank you, Mr. Larry. You're welcome.
So that's it. Today and everyone can see, we're going to be talking about Blue Beetle, and this is why we had Larry on. We were, when I was at one of the comedy shows, me and Larry got to talking about some old school comics, old school comic characters, and characters that don't have a shine, they don't get enough a light or attention on, and we said, okay, got to have him on the show. So before we dive into it, you know what we got to do. We got to do our round table of shout-outs. So here we go. First and foremost, we have to give it out to the man that makes us look so pretty with all our templates, our logo, and any digital media that you need. You need to reach out to the one and only. Who is it?
J-Bird Digital.
J-Bird Digital Arts. Tell Jason you saw him here. You saw all this work here on the Iconist podcast. You can also see his work with the other show that I'm on called A Touch of Grey Comedy. And that's myself, Thomas Patrice, Zolf Ali, and the man who puts it together, Dave Sokolowski. We have over 120 videos still going. So thank you for tuning in there. Also, another main thing, support the books. You got to support the comic book stores to keep this medium going. So go out there, support the books. And two of the stores that are friends of this show is, if you're in Montreal, it's Check Swings, just off of Taschereau Boulevard in Brossard. Or if you get out to Kitchener, then you get out to Wow Comics and, tell them that we sent you. So Check Swings, tell Trevor we sent you. And if you get up to Wow Comics, then definitely look up Wes and Ramon. They will hook you up with all your needs, be it if it's books, role-playing games, statues, and yada, 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 yada. Yeah.
Just a lot of stuff he meant by that. He just meant they got a lot of stuff.
They got a lot of stuff. Right. Another friend of the show is Jimmy English. So let's give it for him and his podcast, which is Back to the Balcony. So look for the black microphone on the red background. He's in season 2, probably going around to season 3. And I've been on there a couple of times as a guest. So it's been a lot of fun. He always brings on comedians to talk about past movies, the good, the bad, and the ugly of them, and have a lot of fun. So definitely tune in, check it out. A lot of love on that. And then if you're into your music, like we are into our music, look up Wayne Tennant, and it's Curfew Flowers, and that's his album that's on Spotify. And he's got that single that I like, Vapors. So look it up, play it. We might hear Rod playing it somewhere. And if you want to find all the links to everything I talk about, let's make it really simple. Barry3D.com. That's what it is. Barry3D.com. You'll find the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter for Iconist, for my own stuff, live stand-up. Everywhere you want to see me, there we go. And almost can't forget, Paul Ash, Battlecom, right? That's one of his shows. They Talk Funny. That's one of his shows. The Love Doctor. That's one of his shows. And oh my gosh, what? Paul Ash is also a headline comedian who's all over, and you can see him on TV doing a lot of commercials and showing up on guest spots on certain shows like Ghost. So if you're a fan of Ghost, you've seen Paul. And if you've been on this, if you've seen the show, you've seen Paul. Rod, where can we find you?
You can find me on the internet. Definitely. Listen, you can find me on Instagram. Yeah, you can find me on the internet. I'm all over the place. Listen, you can definitely find me on Instagram. You can find me at Mr. Rod C, MRRODC. You can definitely find me on the Twitch.tv at DJ Rod C. Facebook, DJ Rod C as well. Listen, I'm all over. If you come through Twitch, I play there every like couple times a week. Normally, I have a residency, as I would call it, on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come through, hail up, and just say, hey, give a shout out. Let me know that you found me through Iconist. Give me a hail up, give you a shout out.
Yeah,
All right.
And then tell him to play Saturday Love, and don't worry about it. I'll be there.
and don't worry, he'll be there.
That's my jam.
That's his jam.
Larry.
That's a Craig Jackson song.
Right? Thank you. Larry,
Be there.
where can people find you when they want to find you?
Okay, this is my phone, so bear with me. I'm on Facebook at Hilarious Comedy. I have a fan page there, Hilarious Comedy. Now that's Hi Larry. It's us. Do a show. So Hi Larry, spell it wrong, which is the right way to spell it. And I'm on YouTube at Hilarious Comedy. So
nice.
That's it. Oh, and I have a website, apparently, at Larry Smith Comedy on Wix site.
Apparently.
Awesome. We will find those links. We will add the links down
There's
to the
a
bottom
rumor
of this show when we put it up on
Everybody
YouTube.
keeps telling me, Larry, you need to go on TikTok. Just don't do TikTok. So you can't do TikTok on your laptop, apparently. So that's all my electronical stuff. I'm not cool like you guys.
Well, man, to
Well, you
me,
are.
TikTok was just what the sound the clock made, when it was sitting in the kitchen and you're eating supper.
I thought Spotify would get a stain out of your shirt.
Nice.
Right? Hey, I got a stain. Put some Spotify on there.
Get the spot out. See, I do a whole spit on how things are mislabeled from Zoom to TikTok to Twitch. And yeah. It's a hoot and a riot. And as I said today, Iconist, the icon is Blue Beetle. We are talking, I know there's many Blue Beetles out there. We are going to talk about the Ted Cord Blue Beetle, right? So depending on how you look at it, he's either the third or second Blue Beetle in the line. And we'll give you some history on that, how people kind of construe that a little bit.
Well, yeah, there's like a link, like with Blue Beetle, there's like that Captain America in the 50s thing that happens.
Right?
Because everybody forgets there was a Captain America in the 50s that they said was Steve Rogers. And then they had to go back and retcon it and make it another guy who got plastic surgery and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
In Blue Beetle, there was a Blue Beetle who was bigger than all the other Blue Beetles before the Blue Beetle we think of, which is all the Charlton to DC Blue Beetle.
Right.
Yes.
Before that, there was the original. Should I just tell you?
Sure, go right ahead. This is what the show's all about, man. We're talking about it. Let's get into it. Don't hold back.
Here's what happens. Guy Victor Fox was a big comic book publisher back in the Golden Age. And in 1939, he'd put out a guy called Marvel Man, and then had to pull Marvel Man because Marvel Man was just basically Superman in a red suit. And just like with Captain Marvel, they sued Victor Fox and said, you can't do that. You're ripping off Superman. So he went, well, we need something. So they tried to rip off the Green Hornet. The original Blue Beetle in the very first issue had his goggles, but he wore a fedora and had a suit with a scarab on his tie. It was a complete Green Hornet ripoff. So after the first issue, when they got sued over their fake Superman, they went, ooh, shit, we better not do that. So they got Will Eisner's design house.
Yes.
Because back then, a lot of times a comic company would just hire different studios to complete the comics for them.
Right.
So Will Eisner's studio was the first studio to do Blue Beetle, which is the Dan Garrett with one T.
Yes.
Dan Garrett's origin story is he was away at college and his dad was a cop and his dad got killed by criminals. So on Dan's dad's deathbed, he vowed to end crime. And so he drops out of college, becomes a policeman. Well, he's a rookie cop on the beat. He meets this pharmacist named Dr. I forget his name. Anyhow, because I had notes. Dr. something, who's a pharmacist.
Right.
Who makes his armor, the blue armor, and gives him an elixir called X2. and that gives him strength and vigor,
Right.
and speed and stuff. So he goes out and fights crime. He was so big, he had his own daily comic strip in papers across America, and he had his own national radio show. And that's the Dan Garrett that's a cop and puts on the armor and takes the elixir.
Got it.
Yes.
Victor Fox owed money to the Holyoke Printing Company in Holyoke, Connecticut. So what they did was they said, you owe us money. And he did this a lot. He went, okay, why don't I just give you all the printing sheets for all the Blue Beetles?
Right.
And you can print as many Blue Beetle comics for free as you want and stuff. So they did that. But then somehow Charlton came in and got all the Blue Beetle sheets and everything off of Holyoke. And because Charlton wanted to run all night, because if you turn down a printing press, it costs you money.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So that's when they printed the comics. So they reprinted all the original Blue Beetles, Dan Garrett ones. Then they printed 2 new Dan Garrett stories at the end of the run, 2 new original ones, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then Charlton got the character. So all Charlton did was redo the covers and reprint all the Blue Beetle Golden Age stuff, which kind of looked outdated and stuff, right? Because you're reprinting a comic from 1939 in the 1950s.
Right.
So they decided we'll revamp the character. And that's where you get the Dan Garrett with 2 T's, who is the legacy to Ted Kord. I know it's a long way to get there.
No. This is what we wanted to talk about.
This guy, in the 1955, they come up with Dan Garrett, who's this red-haired guy, and he's not a cop, he's an archaeologist. And he goes to Egypt with his girlfriend. And while they're in Egypt, they get waylaid by some bandits, and he ends up in a crypt. It's very Billy Batson, Captain Marvel from the movie series.
Oh, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
He's trapped in a tomb. The good pharaoh appears to him and says, because you have opened the tomb, you're now going to release the bad pharaoh. That wicked Silver Age comics ends up being a giant mummy. So the good pharaoh says you must take the Scarab, and you now have the power of the Scarab. Suddenly Dan Garrett is wearing, for some reason, red goggles and blue chainmail and a Scarab belt, and he can now fly, and he has super strength.
Yes.
And he beats the hell out of the bad pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up sneaking the Scarab out of the country and back to the United States of America, where Dan Garrett, as the Blue Beetle, fights all kinds of great Silver Age villains like the Praying Mantis Man and the Red Scorpion and like the Madmen and these like great villains. Very Silver Age, very like Batman in the 50s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So then what happens is Charlton, they're done. They've done all these Blue Beetle with the Scarab stories. Dan Giordano, who ends up being a big deal at DC later on, and actually wrote a letter about the original Blue Beetle to the comic book and was printed in the comic book in their letter page, right? He comes in, he doesn't like supernatural heroes, and he doesn't like guys that are too super powered, and they've already got Captain Atom and Charlton.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They don't need another guy who can fly and has super strength and fights crazy villains.
Right.
He was like this. We need our own Batman. We don't have a Batman. We have a Superman. We don't have a Batman. So he said to Steve Ditko, redesign him.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Ditko and the first writer, they redesigned him. And he became Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle, and he's this technical guy. He's a millionaire, but he's a genius,
Yep.
And he runs a technical company. And what's great is, okay, they did something brilliant because he was a backup story in Captain Atom.
Yes.
The first 4 or 5 times you see him. And what they did, though, that was smart, that people who make superhero movies, I'm trying so hard not to swear, people who make superhero movies need to learn this frickin' lesson, which is that the Stan Lee School of Writing. Start in the middle of action. The very beginning of your story should be the end of the last story. You should be in the middle of something. Your hero should be in the middle of something.
Yes.
Start off static. He should be flying through the air trying to get away from something he just took care of or is taking care of.
Right.
And then if you want to do his origin, do it in flashback. Well, he's doing stuff in the present as the dude.
Yes, and that's what they've changed in the comic writing.
When I saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and I saw the Spider-Man with the English kid in it, they both annoyed me because I was like, oh, we know how Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man.
Thank you.
2 minutes to explain how Spider-Man became Spider-Man, not 45 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
Guess what? The 6-year-old in me don't care about Peter Parker. I don't give a damn about him. Put Spider-Man up there. That's who I want, you know?
Well, that's when DC kind of done it right, because with Michael Keaton, right away with that Michael Keaton Batman 89, he's in the costume. It's like, oh man, I'm not afraid of the bat. Oh, he automatically shows up in costume. You're like, in a couple of minutes, like, okay. And then they did his origin somewhat loosely as a flashback, right? So I get you on that one.
Right. Like I said, every Fantastic Four movie should start with, hey, you're the idiots who took that rocket up and did blah, blah, blah. Throw it away. You're done.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, the first Blue Beetle adventure in Charlton where it's Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle, you don't even know it's Ted Kord. It's just the Blue Beetle.
Yes.
The Blue Beetle goes after these criminals robbing a bank, and he stops them. And at the end, the bug is sitting on the top of the chimney. And here's the coolest thing. This is what sets off what makes the Blue Beetle the coolest thing is. At the end of it, Ted Kord says, I wonder what Dan Garrett would think about how I'm doing as the Blue Beetle.
Yes.
Okay, so this Blue Beetle is related to the other Blue Beetle, but how? And then you find out in the next issue, Detective Fisher, who's important to my CW series, I'll tell you about way later.
Right. Preach, brother, preach.
Detective Fisher is investigating the disappearance of Dan Garrett with 2 T's, the archaeologist Dan Garrett, alias the Blue Beetle, because he went off to Pago Island and hasn't been seen since. And Ted Kord returned from Pago Island in a dismantled boat, like in a bad boat, and he ends up on shore and blah, blah, blah. So this Fisher's hassling Ted Kord over what happened to Dan Garrett. You find out what happened to Dan Garrett. And by the way, his girlfriend, Ted Kord's girlfriend, Tracy, who, by the way, in those comics, and I think it's Steve Ditko did this, okay?
Yep.
She is smart. She's super independent.
Yep.
She can hold her own. Like, this is a 3-dimensional woman in the mid-60s. She's
not the
partner.
Exactly, not damsel in distress, I need saving, right? And that's very reminiscent for Steve Ditko, because if you look at him run in Hawk and Dove, if you look at him with Shade the Changing Man, and even when he did Spider-Man and all that, he drew the characters, he wrote characters, Doctor Strange, he wrote them and drew them in a way that it wasn't the typical, damsel in distress. I always laugh about the Ted Kord origin, the Dan Garrett origin, like, the archaeologist going over to Egypt because he went to Egypt. Billy Batson started somewhat with Egypt, if you look at the serials, right? Hawkman, Carter Hall, with Sharon, from Earth 2, to make it clear, Egypt, archaeologist, Egypt, reincarnated prince. So everything seems to start in Egypt, right?
That's why I used to argue with my friends that the original Blue Beetle, Garrett with the 2 T's, the one with the Scarab from Egypt, could kick Superman's ass because the Blue Beetle is super strong, because of magic.
Yes.
Just like how Captain Marvel can kick Superman's ass. Because Superman's
magic. And that's Superman's weakness. That's one of his weaknesses besides kryptonite is magic. So yes, it gives him an upper hand.
So what happens to Dan Garrett is Ted Kord's working with his uncle Jarvis. This is done in flashback.
Right.
Ted Kord was working with his uncle Jarvis at his father's company on a project, but his uncle was kind of keeping him at a distance, giving him different projects to do that he couldn't connect together. Then there's a lab explosion. In the lab explosion, his uncle dies. It's a comic book. His uncle dies.
Air quotes.
So, after his, I forgot. I'm supposed to be drawing the Blue Beetle too. As his uncle dies on the island of Pago, he dies, right?
Right.
Ted Kord looks through the wreckage and finds out, I don't think he's dead. And I think he's been putting me on. And what's the deal with some of this stuff? I need to go to the island of Pago and investigate. So Ted Kord goes to his old college professor, because he took archaeology, I guess, as one of his electives.
Everybody takes archaeology to get those powers.
Exactly.
Mark Scepter from Moon Knight.
Not knowing that Dan Garrett's the Blue Beetle, Ted Kord goes to him and says, look, there's this stuff going on with my uncle. I think it's kind of hinky. And Dan Garrett himself goes, looks kind of hinky to me. Why don't I go to that island with you? Why not? Helps the plot. So they go on a boat to this Pago island. They confront his uncle Jarvis, who's been building these giant robots, like these big robots, of course, to take over the world.
Yes.
So his uncle Jarvis is building robots to take over the world, and anybody who makes fun of that as a plot line, I tell you, screw you. That's what I want in a comic book.
Absolutely. See, and to hold you right there for half a second, right? That whole giant robots taking over the world, that brings me back to 2 points. So that brings me back to the Superman cartoon, the original Superman cartoons back in the day. And one of them was, giant robots that almost turned into planes, would rob stuff, fly it back to this guy's island, the scientist island. It was little Superman shorts.
Max Fleischer.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Oil paintings that move.
Thank you. Right. I've got that on DVD. That's a classic that's overlooked. So that there fits the time, right? So that's one. And then the other one to me is more of a modern take. It's Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Okay. Yes. I love that movie.
Should have been
Everybody's got to stop on that movie.
I'm a fan of that movie. I wanted a sequel.
On that movie. I love that movie.
I wanted a sequel.
I love everything Golden Age. I love old movie serials. So that movie to me is it's a masterpiece.
It captures it. I think that's a movie that is it missed, people, it didn't miss the market. It did what it was supposed to do. I'm surprised it wasn't bigger than what I thought it would be. I really wanted more of this character, more movies. What?
People crap on stuff that's beautiful.
And that was, it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie's character in there.
I can't watch a Transformers movie. Maybe it's because I'm 56.
Right.
But it seemed like, for some reason, for about a decade, every movie that had a fight scene, it was dark, and it was always this close up.
Yep. Right.
No, if I want to see a fight, I want you to back up from that fight so I can see everything that's
exactly
going on.
Yeah.
And it's the same with that. It's like just I don't know. Then again, I'm an idiot. I love the movie the Phantom. I love the Shadow. I love the Spirit. I love I love all kinds of movies that like nobody cares about. I thought the Spirit was great.
Well, hold on. Which Spirit movie?
The Spirit.
Yeah, I know. But you're talking the Frank Miller?
City looking.
Are you talking about the Frank Miller movie?
That's a good question.
Yes.
The Frank Miller one? Okay.
See,
the one that looked like Sin City.
Right. See, I liked how it looked, but that one, story-wise, I think it was a little bit off for me.
Right.
I liked how it looked, but story-wise, it was a little bit off for me.
It's too good of a character.
I mean, I I don't know if it's because I thought it looked too much like Sin City for me to really get into it. I just didn't find the storyline moved as much as I thought it would with the Spirit. That was my thing.
I love the Spirit comic books.
Same here.
So I think I was just happy they made a movie. I think sometimes with certain fans, you don't care if it's garbage even. You're like, at least I have it.
Look, Larry, like you, I'm up there, right? I'm what, 50, 52? Yeah. and let me just, I had to check my age, right, for half a second. And I have to say this. I was lucky when Spider-Man in 1977 came out on TV, I held on to it. When Lou Ferrigno was playing the Hulk, I held on to it. You understand? Because that was the best that we were going to get. When Dolph Lundgren played the Punisher, I held on to it because that was the best.
Kids today don't know how lucky they are.
You know? Yeah, exactly. The kids today have no idea how good they have it, because for us, we were like, okay, he's in spandex, he's swinging from one corner of the building to the other corner. Woo! Okay, we're good. I'm good with that.
Take it.
His spider web, you know, it looked like a giant, like a thick rope, not like a spider web. And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
How about the garbage Captain America in the motorcycle helmet?
Oh man, I have both of them on DVD.
Hated that.
You see, I like those ones more than the other one they did where they gave him the rubber suit and he had rubber ears. And they made the Red Scorpion, the Red Skeleton, the Red Skull.
Red Skull.
Yeah, they made the Red Skull Italian. He was Sicilian.
Yeah. No, see,
I couldn't get into Sicilian Red.
You know why? Because they didn't make the comic book.
Yeah.
That's the lesson that some people don't learn.
No.
It's all there. Make it. Actually, guess what? If you want to, it's already been storyboarded for you.
Exactly. It's all storyboarded.
Just remake the issue.
That's it. See, look, the first Captain America movie, right, with Rebel, I liked it, okay? Even though he didn't have on the true Captain America costume. At the end, though, they put him in the true Captain America costume, and then he had that for the second movie. And I was all about those two movies. I thought it was hilarious, and it had some good action. It was the other one they made where, you know, the Red Skull is Sicilian. I was like, really? But getting back with and that's it. With the Blue Beetle, this character, as I think, he's got a lot of history.
They fight the giant robots.
Yes.
While they're fighting the giant robots, Dan Garrett realizes they're screwed. The only thing he can do is risk Ted Kord and his uncle knowing his identity. He pulls the Scarab out, puts it on, becomes the Blue Beetle, defeats the robots, but this causes a few ruptures in equipment and things like that on the islands. The island's going to blow up. The whole lab's going to go. And Dan Garrett's mortally wounded. He knows he's not going to make it out of here. So he says to Ted Kord, because Ted Kord's apologizing to him, and this is important character-wise.
Yeah.
Ted Kord says, when Dan Garrett says, take this Scarab and be the Blue Beetle, so the Blue Beetle will live on, Ted Kord goes, how can I not? This is partially my fault. He helped unknowingly, but he helped build these robots. He brought Dan to this island. Ted Kord is a guy who is always struggling with living up to responsibility. That's the whole plot point for the Blue Beetle, is am I as good as Dan Garrett?
Yes.
Because this is why he's my favorite hero. Okay? Dan Garrett goes to give him the Scarab. There's an explosion. The Scarab goes missing. It's buried in the rubble. Ted Kord's already made the promise. I will be the Blue Beetle. When he gets back to the States, he's like, how can I do this? I don't have the magic Scarab. He goes, I'll use my brains. So he builds the Bug, which is his giant hovering airship.
Airship,
He repels from. It's great. Right? So he builds the Bug. He builds his BB gun, right? Which shoots light and sound. It can also do a thing that'll disorient you. It's kind of like a sonar and audio gun. and he builds the suit, which is bulletproof and everything, and the goggles with the stuff built into them and everything.
Yeah.
And he goes out and fights crime. And this is why I think he's really, really cool, because his origin is a legacy.
Yeah.
Right.
He's one of the earlier legacy characters we get.
Right. Now imagine this, okay? This is what cracks me up. One, Ted Kord's better than Superman because he goes out and does it and he has no powers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's better than Batman because he's not going out to do it for his own selfish need for vengeance.
No.
Batman needs to go out and fight crime to get over his parents' death. That's why he does it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I've sworn this on my parents' life. Ted Kord could have said the guy's dead. He took the magic scarab with him. He'll probably understand that I can't be the Blue Beetle.
Yeah, and he could have walked away.
Right. And what did he say? No, I'll figure out a way to get it done. And I'll do it.
And he did.
So that's the Charlton character. So, and in the Charlton stories, he fights great supervillains and stuff. But what's really cool is, just like on the TV show The Fugitive, Ted Kord is constantly hounded by Detective Fisher about where is Dan Garrett.
Right.
He's investigating through all the issues. The murder of Dan Garrett. He's sure Ted Kord knows something. And Trudy's always running interference for Ted.
Yes.
And when Ted screws up and shit, she brings him up again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's just, I don't know. I just think it's a great, even just in the Charlton years, that's a lot of story and good stuff there.
It doesn't age. That's the thing. You can take that story from and do it now.
You can do it better today because of our technology. Imagine the stuff Ted Kord would have.
Yes,
right.
Yes. And they touched on that.
Imagine nanobots that look like Beetles.
Right. They've touched on it. And I mean, just to give people listening to the show, so just to let you know, the Blue Beetle, his first appearance, right, was 1939. Like
39.
Yeah. And characters still been around up to today in different variations, and I'm talking not Ted Kord, I'm talking the very first Blue Beetle. So I'm going with Blue Beetle himself. Been around since 1939. And here we are, 2022, and the character is still talked about, still represented, still there. And it's always been passed. Now, of course, there's been retcons, there's been, different people carrying the mantle, but it's one of the first legacy characters we've had, from that date, because every other character didn't have a legacy, right? At the time, if you look at that time frame, it was Batman. Okay, he had Robin. He never passed. Every hero had a sidekick or a younger version of themselves. They didn't pass it on to anyone.
Blue Beetle had a sidekick in World War II.
Okay, I missed that one. He did?
A kid named Sparky Sparkington.
Sparkington?
Because Blue Beetle during World War II, I forgot this, the original Dan Garrett with the 1P, the formula dude.
Right.
He, when World War II broke out, because he started in 39, when America entered World War II, Blue Beetle offered his services to the government. And he fought during World War II overseas for the government. There's even a Blue Beetle issue where he punches Hitler, because Captain America can do it. Blue Beetle could do it. We need an issue where he punches Hitler. So there's an issue where Blue Beetle punches Hitler. But he ends up in England while he's thwarting a plot by some saboteurs. A young British kid named Sparkington sees him, knows that Dan Garrett's the Blue Beetle. So
I learned today.
To keep his secrecy, makes him his sidekick. So during World War II, they fight the Nazis together.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that. I learned today. See, so it's not the fact that I know everything. That's the beauty of this thing. This is the beauty of the show, the beauty of everything there. It's like we constantly learn. There's always something. I'm just going by the notes I had and saw. So, and that's why I like this. His legacy. So he did have a sidekick, but he's still
in World War II. The original Dan Garrett with the 1T, had a sidekick, because that was the thing, right? World War II comics, right? Flaming Torch had Toro,
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Aquaman had
Aqualad.
Aqualad.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Captain America had Bucky. Like, so,
Right.
of course, Fox stole everything. Victor
Of course.
Fox was a beast. Okay, it just was, he saw something that was working, put that in our
Must have
comic
it.
books. So he said, "Oh well, they got a sidekick. Oh, get us a sidekick." So they had a sidekick.
Well, that's what
But,
it is. Like, you got a sidekick, we got a sidekick. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, give
So
me
I was
one
going to say
second.
the reason that Blue Beetle ended up at DC Comics was because of Dick Giordano, because he'd had so much to do with the success of those Charlton superhero line.
Right.
That was
Sorry.
really no problem. That was his baby. Was Peacemaker.
Yes.
Nightshade, Captain Atom,
Yep.
Blue Beetle, The Question.
The Question.
By the way,
Another huge one.
The Question was a backup story in the Blue Beetle title. When Blue Beetle got his own title and
Right.
left Captain Atom, The Question was a backup story in the Blue Beetle. And that's why the Blue Beetle and The Question teamed up together every once in a while.
Yeah, but see, that was smart because I know they brought in those characters and they also had in Judo Master. Now we know John Cena did do the Peacemaker thing, and they brought in Judo Master and they brought their variation, their version of it in there, and it's nice to see.
I was a kid who grew up on Lang Street in Hamilton, Ontario, so
Right.
I didn't have a ton of money for comics. So I'm one of the kids who, when I was a kid, I bought Charlton comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they were cheaper.
Yes, they were. And they had some good properties too, because
And
not
I
only
fell in
that,
love with the Blue Beetle,
right?
Not through his comic books, but there was always an ad with the Blue Beetle repelling from that spot on the ad sheet in my Tiger Man from Atlas Comics.
Yes.
Like, and I was like, who is this guy? I'm from the ship with the thing, and he's got the gun and oh man.
You see, and that's what fit, because I know with Charlton Comics, I was a fan of them because I like Blue Beetle. I like the other characters they did, but they also did TV properties. So they did the Bionic Man, comic book. They did Space 1999.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh
yeah.
God, yeah.
And I was into both those shows, so I would buy those comics to have them.
Them and Gold Key. Remember Gold Key did all the Star Trek and Twilight Zone?
Yes.
And all that stuff. Oh, yeah, and all the Pink Panther and all the TV properties. A lot of them were Gold Key. Charlton did a lot of the stuff, too.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised that Charlton actually went out of business, because they did have a lot of properties to their names. And the artwork they did for the Bionic Man,
because they didn't care about what they were doing.
No, and that's the problem.
It was just a reason. It was, honest to God, just a reason to run the presses at night.
Right.
That's what, their issues didn't come out regular.
No.
You know what kept the Blue Beetle alive too? Is fandom.
Yeah.
Fandom. Because they came up with a magazine called Charlton Bullseye.
Yes.
Which was a fan magazine for people who missed and loved Charlton comic books. And a lot of people did actual Blue Beetle stories and printed them in Charlton Bullseye, because that became before the internet, a place where a comic book person who couldn't get Marvel or DC to publish their stuff, they could send it to Charlton Bullseye and they'd go, if it's good enough, we'll print it.
Yep. Cool.
So that's why a lot of guys did Blue Beetle, who DC turned into a joke, which pissed off Len Wein, who's a great DC writer.
Yeah, with reason.
When Blue Beetle went to DC, right?
Yeah.
They bought him as a gift for Dick Giordano. They bought him all those Charlton characters. They bought the rights to all those characters specifically to go, welcome to DC Comics. We got the characters that you were so influential with.
Right.
So he gave it to Len Wein, and Len Wein did a whole run of Blue Beetle.
Yeah, because Blue Beetle had another 24-issue run with DC Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they treated Ted Kord with respect. And
yes, they did.
Treated the character with respect.
Yeah.
And it was an excellent, fantastic, well-rounded comic book character. And then the guys at Justice League.
Oh my gosh.
got
So
a
yeah.
hold of him.
Well, even
And
before
they
then,
turned
so
Ted Cord into a joke.
well, that's it. And even before then, so they had his own writing issues, and then he saw Ted Cord, Captain Atom, and all of them show up in Crisis of Infinite Earths, where they really
That's what really introduced him, and he's cool in that book.
he was George Perez did a wonderful job drawing him. You know,
And the character's portrayed as a kick-ass character.
Yes, he is. And
Why
then when
would
it got
why out of all the Charlton characters
right.
do you pick Blue Beetle to represent them in the Crisis on the Infinite Earths? Because Ted Cord is the coolest Charlton character.
Right.
He was the main character for them. And then,
I love the question. But you know what?
No.
Without question, Ted Cord is the coolest Charlton character.
Right. And then when they put him in Justice League, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that. I mean, as a comedian, as a person with a sense of humor, I like what they're doing with the Justice League run, you know? And at first, the first couple of issues, I was, okay, it was a little bit more lighthearted. I like they had Guy Gardner.
I was excited to see him.
Yeah, he was on there. He wasn't the butt of the joke. He just liked a good joke, right? So he was there when Batman punched out Guy Gardner, and it's like, oh, Black Canary, you missed it. And she was like, what? And he's like, ha, 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 ha. But he would still be a serious presence on the team as a fighter, as a thinker, you know, as a tactician.
We're around the same age, you'll get this. When that comic first came out,
yeah,
Justice League, the very first one, the new one, right?
Yeah.
That one, the Geffen one, right? I'm like, okay, I can start collecting this from issue 1.
Right.
This will be wicked. And I really enjoyed it. The whole Gray Man storyline that they had and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I really loved it. Some of the Max Lord stuff, which will come in later. And
right.
Stuff, I liked. But then it got to be, I'm like, it's too silly. I don't want a sitcom. I want a comic book.
Well,
you guys have lost the narrative. You've lost the thread.
Yes, they did. Because with the whole, when they put them together with Booster Gold.
Booster.
And it was blue and gold. They made the two of them. Like Booster Gold was somewhat seen as a lighthearted character, as a joke at times, even in his own series. But when they put him and Ted together, I was like, oh no. And then at one point, you know, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are opening a resort in some island, you know, and it goes like belly up.
The storyline where they were making him, he's getting fat. And I'm like, no, Ted Cord is trained in the martial arts. Ted Cord is an Olympic level athlete.
Yes.
Ted Cord did not only build gadgets and the bug and the suit to fulfill Dan Garrett's legacy, he also worked on himself.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, by the way, Dan Garrett shows up again twice.
Yes, because he gets resurrected by the Scarab.
Not in the DC continuity.
No, the American
comics who did Fed Force and that, where one of Jarvis's androids takes on the persona of the original Blue Beetle and comes back and kicks the crap out of Ted Cord before Ted Cord realizes it's a robot, and then the ghost of Dan Garrett in the bug fires a laser and blows up the robot.
Wow.
Touche, sir. Touche. Yes.
But then in DC Comics, in the Blue Beetle, Dan Garrett comes back because apparently the Scarab is evil, and it eventually possesses whoever owns it and fills them with vengeance. So he comes back and wants to kick the crap out of Ted Cord, and then Ted Cord ends up destroying the Scarab.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I like the aspect. I mean, I know they retconned it to it's kind of the Scarabus from Alien Outer Space, but I like I like the original. I like it with the magic to it, the Egyptian lore to it. They could have definitely done more with it.
To all your listeners, I apologize when I say this, but when my nephew and I, who's 27, talk about comic books, he knows to refer to that character as not the Blue Beetle to me. And it's only got to do with the fact of the Scarab from Outer Space garbage, because he's a legacy hero. What they should have done was had Ted Cord pass on his legacy of the bug and the suit and the gadgets to somebody else, and they almost did that. Do you know that they were talking at DC about Ted Kord handing the mantle to Jason Todd?
Really?
No, I did not.
Can you imagine if Ted Kord had said to Jason Todd, why don't you take on my legacy instead of Batman's? I need someone to continue the Blue Beetle for me. And he gave that stuff to Jason Todd. Wouldn't that have been amazing?
Wow.
That would have been a totally different, obviously, right? But what I mean by that is for the character, that might have been some redemption, because Jason Todd is very dark since he's come back, and he's taken on the mantle of the Red Hood, or the Arkham Knight if you play the Arkham Knight video games. And with Jason Todd taking on the Blue Beetle, it would have lightened him up a little bit. It would have not made him so like Punisher-ish, angry all the time. Right. It would have definitely redeemed his soul.
Yeah, he's such a legacy hero. I'm like, it should have continued on. And it feels like the new Blue Beetle is just a guy who's called the Blue Beetle and has a Scarab. But that's the only connection.
That's it. And once again, they retconned it. So be it retconned, it's not the same to me. I think the original Blue Beetle should still carry on, somewhat how it is. And I mean, there's so much more we can go with the character, but and I know you mentioned something before. So here at this point, we try to figure out if we had to cast this character in a live action show, right? Or movie or any kind of medium, I know you say you have a person, Larry. I've got a person, Rod. You've got a person, Rod. Who would you see play Blue Beetle, Rod? Do you have a person in mind?
You know what? I had someone in mind, and then when I looked into that particular person, then I started to realize, you're already being used, although not in the world of DC. He's a Marvel. He's a Marvel person. Right. So I couldn't use him. But just
okay.
I don't know, like when we get to that particular point of a person, so I had to, I'll even say who that person is.
Sure.
So I had to, but my original thought process for that person was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Who is that?
Aaron Taylor Johnson is we were introduced to him earlier on in a suit from Kick-Ass. So he's the main lead for Kick-Ass.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He's also. Gotcha. Right. So he's also, and I forgot, he's already in the Marvel universe. That's Quicksilver.
Yes. In the Avengers movie, he plays Quicksilver.
In the Avengers movie, he played Quicksilver. And he's now to be Kraven. Yeah. So I was like, I can't pull from Kraven. I can't pull from Kraven, per se.
Right.
So with that, then, I was looking and I came across, I don't know if you ever watched this movie. I watched I Am Number 4. I don't know if you ever saw that. This is Alex Pettyfer.
Okay.
I Am 4 was basically like a humanoid alien refugee who was basically on the run. He was on Earth, basically. So at least in this regard, this character has, developed power. Didn't realize that he has powers. He just knew he was on the run, but, from a different galaxy, different planet, that type of scenario. And he's hiding on an Earth with a guardian, but he has superpowers. So basically, he has powers growing out of his arm, his hands, and everything like that. Repel and stuff along that line. So I was going with this particular person.
Okay.
Oh, you might remember who it is now.
I just looked it up.
You might think.
Yeah.
Right. I Am 4. So with that, he was, so he already has the persona. He's already has the acting chops to be athletic, to be superhero type of, mindset. So that type of action and, this is your character is going to have to be a superhero, and how to conduct yourself in that particular manner of being a righteous person versus being a villain or anything like that. Slight as well. I don't know if you ever saw it. I came across this years ago on Amazon. Let's go back to it. The Stormbreaker, Alex Rider. So in earlier days, he played that particular, another like a British actor. He's a British actor, but I mean playing like a young James Bond type of character. So I'm now going in that from that time frame, he was a smart individual. So I was trying to pull from that aspect that, okay, you have the ability, if you play someone who's, who's intellectual, who's very intelligent, who can be a genius and how, portray that, as well as being a person who is now saying, okay, well, we need you to do some fight scenes and stuff like that. Do you think you can handle that? Yeah, I think I know how to flip off of, a jumping board and be able to look like I'm landing safely, and giving that, doing the like
tripod land.
The tripod land, just like exactly like that Deadpool finishing move. It's the land. Loving it. Good on the knees. So my choice would be Alex Pettyfer.
Okay. I can see that. And it's funny because, and I'll get to you in a second, Larry. So who I had here, when I look at him, the guy I picked, he's got a very similar look. Holy crap. Okay, so you went with Alex. I went with an actor named Ryan Pavey. Right? So his last name is spelled P as in Peter, A-E, V as in Victor, E-Y. Right? Okay. So, Ryan Pavey, he's done a lot of Hallmark movies, and he was in General Hospital.
Okay.
Right? So he's on the ABC's, General Hospital. He's been doing that for a while. And if you look at him, like, he's got the height, like he's like 6 foot something, like 6'1", but he's got that charming chisel. He's got that chiseled chin, charming smile. And what I liked about it, and I go a little bit different, right? Everyone thinks that they got to take these heroes, got to be gruff and tough and all that. But, you got to have charm in your personal life to kind of get past it. You got to have kind of charm to stay with the character. Now, with this character being a legacy character, Ted Kord, he's not going to be out there as dark as Superman. As Batman. He's not going to be as aloof or standalone or distant as Superman or Clark Kent is to certain people because he didn't want to get discovered. I wanted someone that's going to be a little bit more charming because the way I see it is as, it would have to be, if it's going to be a movie, then it has to have the same feel as what we said before of Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, mixed with the original Mummy. I want that kind of pacing to it.
Yeah.
I want that little bit of lightheartedness to it, to like the original Mummy with Brendan Fraser, and that cast, So I want that kind of action, comedy, pacing to it. Sometimes he has a hard luck situation hero. Other times he's on top of everything going on and he does amazing things. And you're like, whoa. And I think this actor with that style of movie that's written and shown that way would work well as a movie or as a series, but it's got to have, I don't want it to be the typical, series where it's going to be, like how Arrow was and all that, right? I wanted to have he's got to have a different take. He can't be too lighthearted. Don't want him to be a joke. I don't want him to be like overly adult humor, like how Peacemaker was. I mean, I like Peacemaker, but that wouldn't fit Blue Beetle, him to be that raunchy. He's not a raunchy Joker, right? He's a charming Joker, to a certain degree. And I'm not saying like he's always pulling jokes and pulling gags, but he's more of a lighthearted person. He's suave. So it's got to have that kind of, that noir film feel to it. You
can't be a genius and not be witty.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's it.
Look at Ray Palmer. Look how they portray Ray Palmer. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but he's too goofy in the CW. Like Ray Palmer, he's too goofy. He's like, it's like, no, I liked him more when Brandon Routh played Superman in the CW, right? I liked when he did the darker version of Superman. That was perfect to me. And I think that's how I wish he would have played Ray Palmer a little bit closer to it.
I love all the CW shows. Okay.
Yeah.
Understand, when I say this, I love all the CW shows. Sometimes I have to remember that network is for people in their late teens and early 20s.
Yes.
That network is not for 56-year-old Larry.
Got it.
So they're going to do some stuff that I'm going to go, well, that's kind of goofy. Why are you making that character goofy?
That's all it is.
Like it's funny. On the other side, I was like, why is Oliver Queen so damn down?
Well, he's Batman. He's the closest you get to Batman without being Batman.
Batman, yeah.
Right, correct. Exactly. And that's a whole story in itself. But
in the comic books, to me, the joke was that Oliver Queen was Batman if he'd had a sense of humor and a sense of adventure.
Well, that's it. Batman had a cave. Green Arrow had a cave. You got a sidekick. I got a sidekick. You got a car. I got a car.
You got a Batmobile. I'm as ridiculous as it is. I'm building an Arrow car.
Exactly. Yeah. He had the Arrow car, the Arrow plane, the Arrow cave, right? He wanted to be Batman. So, I can see where that similarities come in at times, but he wasn't as dark as Batman, and they always play on this whole kind of rivalry, you know. But the actor here, Ryan Pavey, I think he would do a good job because he would bring something different that we've never seen, you know, or haven't seen too much in a leading superhero show to date, right? And I think it'd be witty, but it has to have. It can't be over action. It can't be over dark. I want it written just like The Mummy. It's got to have that same feel, writing wise, as The Mummy with Brandon Fraser. And it's got to have that, and I want it to have that look, more of that look of Sky Captain in A World of Tomorrow. You put those two together,
would be good.
Good.
In color. Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Yes.
But because it's Blue Beetle, make the colors vibrant.
Yes.
Because his most notorious villains were a gang of mercenaries called the Madmen.
Yes.
And they wore like fright wigs, and they were painted all kinds of bizarre colors. It looked like somebody had dumped paint on them.
Right.
And I'm like, that's what's kind of cool about Blue Beetle is its vibrance. It's why most of us fell in love with him through an ad, not as common. One picture, and you went, that dude.
That's it. He's out in daylight fighting criminals, where Batman only comes out now more at night. He's really out there in daylight with a flying bug and you know, the blue and different shades of blue for the character that he has.
No Blue Beetle, no Owlman, no Watchman.
Yeah, exactly. Influence. That's exactly what it is. It's the influence going further and further down, and that's where this character shows it. So that's my take on it. So Larry, what is your take? How would you like to see this come to life?
Who would you have? Do you have anybody?
If it's a movie.
Got it.
Okay. If it's a movie, and hear me out on this one, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody I wanted to cast is too old. I can't cast Scott Bakula. If it was a young Scott Bakula, he'd be an amazing Blue Beetle. So would Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion, a younger Nathan Fillion, would be the ultimate Blue Beetle.
Touche.
Okay? Perfect Blue Beetle.
Yep.
Okay? In a movie, two very different guys. And it'd be two very different takes. But one would be Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. Yes.
Channing Tatum.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he knows how to play serious.
Yep.
And he's good looking enough to be in a superhero movie.
Yep.
And he's in shape enough without being Arnold Schwarzenegger. I like my superheroes to be shaped like basketball players and baseball players before steroids, not the roided out stuff that happened in the 90s and the early 2000s. I like my heroes to look like they could button their own shirt. So him, but you know,
I'm with you.
Sebastian Stan.
Wow. Okay.
Because he could play debonair, cool guy, inventor, genius. My dad's a genius too. That's why there is Accord Industries. My uncle was a genius before he went crazy. I could see him playing Ted Kord as well as Blue Beetle, if you catch my drift.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Because you need somebody who can be Ted Kord.
Yes.
As much as Blue Beetle. It's why most people ruin Superman.
Because they can play one, but they can't play the other.
Him now on the CW.
Right.
And George Reeves from the 50s.
Right.
Those are the only two guys to get Superman right because they know how to play Clark Kent, like a guy who just blends into the scenery, not a bumbling idiot or a klutz or a moron.
Yes.
That draws attention to yourself.
Right.
Clark Kent's just supposed to be, if
plain.
There's 8 guys standing in a group, you'll notice that guy because of his mole. You'll notice that guy because he's loud. I don't remember the 6th, 7th, and 8th guys. Clark would be in that group.
Yep.
Right? He doesn't do anything to draw attention to himself. But I'm like, Ted Kord has to be a guy who can come across as that debonair, I'm the CEO of a company, but he also has to be down to earth enough to be the guy who would make a promise to a dying guy, knowing that it was going to be a pain in the ass to do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know? But if it was on TV.
Okay.
and I don't know the actor's name. This came to me while you were talking.
Mhm.
It was on TV. The guy who plays Agent Wexler on The Blacklist.
I'll find out.
Yeah, that character, the FBI agent he plays. And he's got those superhero looks. Certain people I see on TV, I look at them and I go, yep, I could put you in a hood. Yep, I could put you in goggles. Yep, you could pull that off. You need somebody. Ted Kord has to seem down to earth.
Yes, he does. Exactly. He has to be connected.
But without
that's why I said he's got to have some charm.
He also has to seem like a guy who grew up with money.
Well, that's it.
Because his dad founded Kord Industries. Ted Kord did not grow up poor.
No. No.
That's why I think he would have been able to build the Bug and all that stuff, because he wouldn't think twice about spending money on building stuff. I'm like, if you went, like when I say you would make a great CW show, it's because of that one, the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
2,
yes.
That Tracy character. 3, the plot of Fisher constantly trying to find out what Ted Kord, that would be the whole first season, would be this cop totally just bugging the hell out of Ted Kord, trying to find out what happened to Dan Garrett.
Chasing him down constantly. No, and that works, because even the first season, second season, that can go on, because I'll show you the first season, him trying to figure it out. Second season, maybe Blue Beetle's winning him over. And you can still bring a flashback of Dan Garrett coming back resurrected. Dan Garrett was walking down the street and the cop like, wait a minute, I thought you were dead. That's a whole couple of parts.
Wynn's great Blue Beetle story off right when it was about to kick into something that could go on forever, because at the end of the Blue Beetle issues that Len Wein did, Fisher comes to Blue Beetle and says, Ted Kord, I know you're the Blue Beetle. Here's some case files. These are people that I investigated, and they only got off because of the court system and because of bribes and things. Maybe you can take care of these problems for me. So I'm like, that's the end of a season on a TV show. Come on, yes. You know that is. So you go, oh, next year they're going to be working together, and he's going to give them files.
Of course. It writes itself, man. It writes itself. Oh, I'm still looking up the agent here. Agent Wrestler. Here we go. No. I just want to find the actor who's playing him. But I get you 100% on that one, is because and that's what I mean. It's you can do Ted Kord from his promise. You can do him with the officer trying to figure out what happened to Dan Garrett and that whole kind of tension and where it's going to come out. You can do a resurrection kind of thing of Dan Garrett and bring it back.
Are you ready? Everybody watching that show. This is when you get to do a big episode. Everybody watching that show will be waiting until the question shows up. Right? If you tease it, and then you have the question show up, that opens the door to people going, is this a Charlton universe? Is this Hub City? If it's Hub City, the Blue Beetle lives in Hub City.
Right.
So that's the question. Well, if they're in Hub City, is Nightshade around? Is Captain Atom like going to show up in an episode?
And you know what? And you can bring in Captain Atom before he even has his powers.
Yes. Well, right? That could be a whole 3-episode thing.
You can bring him in and just tease the actor that, hey, this is the guy who, and everyone will know, especially with fandom today, you bring in and say, okay, this is Captain Soul. They're like, wait a minute, isn't that supposed to be? Okay. And people are going to hold on to see, does the explosion happen? Does he get his powers? Are you going to give him his first appearance classic costume before he gets the retcon costume and go from that? That there, we're good. And Charlton Universe, a DC subsidiary Charlton Universe, fans would eat it up.
Yeah, well, it's Hub City, right?
Yeah.
Everything in the Charlton Universe happens in Hub City.
Yes.
So I'm like, and this always drove me nuts. They have dropped maybe you'll see the Blue Beetle hints in like TV shows,
like Smallville. Yep.
Yeah, Smallville.
Mention it, quick mentions.
They did it on Arrow. They talk about Cord Industries all the freaking time. They brought up the fact that, I think your dad, Oliver, he was at one of those Ted Cord fundraisers. And I'm like going, and all the seasons and all the CW shows, you've never brought the Blue Beetle. Are you kidding me?
Nope. In Smallville, they brought in Booster Gold, and I'm like, okay, if you got one, you could bring in the other one, and I'm like, come on, and nope.
See, and you can do the Charlton characters because you can have more fun with them.
Exactly.
You can just use them as a skeleton. It's not like Batman or Superman where there's so much canon. Everybody gets upset if you go a millimeter away from the road.
You're right.
You know what I mean? But at Ted Cord, you can go, hey, we want to give him a goofy assistant for some comic relief. That wasn't in the comics, but why don't we do that? You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of room for interpretation.
He's totally the retcon hero. He's totally the hero that got passed around from people to people because people went out of business.
Exactly.
Like when you think about it, he got sold by Victor Fox because Victor Fox owned Holyoke money.
Yep.
Holyoke handed him off to Charlton because they owed Charlton money.
Yep.
Charlton went under, and to make money to pay off their creditors, they sold the characters to DC.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you this. DC Comics only purchases heroes. They don't create nothing. Marvel creates stuff. DC buys other people's stuff. Aside from Superman and Batman and a handful of others, everything they own, they got from somewhere else.
It's true.
Captain Marvel, they got through a lawsuit. They got all the Charlton characters. They got all the quality characters. Plastic Man was in Police Comics back in the day. He wasn't a DC character. They stole all kinds of DC characters.
They had a budget. But see, I found the guy you're talking about.
Think about this. In the Legacy of Blue Beetle, who was his first artist as Ted Cord? Steve Ditko. So that puts him in line with Spider-Man, Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Right? You guys are frozen on me. Oh, there you go.
Okay, we're back.
Here, are we?
You know, and I'm like, yeah, but that blew my mind. Like I'm like, that makes him a legacy hero.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're saying like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. I mean, Steve Ditko, Hawk and Dove, the Creeper. He's drawn all these Shade the Changing Man, as we said. There's a list that Steve Ditko has done, before. And the debate is who drew the hands like this first? Was it Doctor Strange or was it Spider-Man? But both were Steve Ditko.
Jack Kirby drew Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
There's Jack Kirby artwork of Jack Kirby drawing the Blue Beetle. You know what I mean? Like
that's amazing.
And I'm one of those corny guys that I always like the underdog. I think that's why I love Blue Beetle. I think it's why I like Captain Marvel better than I like Superman.
Mm-hmm. Done right, it could be done well.
Love Batman. That's what I always tell people. I'm sorry. I know Batman is like, oh, you into basketball? Yeah, I love the Lakers. Why? Well, I just picked that because.
Right.
I love the Lakers.
I mean, I love Batman, but there's so much more characters that we got to shine a light on for. So I'll say this: I know that the actor you're referring to,
Brave and the Bold.
Pardon me?
Did you ever see the episode?
Yes, I did.
Of Batman and Blue Beetle.
Yes.
The two of them together.
Yep.
That was amazing because the punchline was everybody's always impressed with this fisticuffs. No, it's all about being prepared. Because they managed to take out the bad guys with nothing but gadgets. And the whole time, all they're having is a conversation about how did you get over the problem of your sleep bombs going off on your belt. Like Blue Beetle goes, sleep bombs? Batman goes, yeah. And he goes, I couldn't get over the problem of them exploding on my belt.
They're talking shop.
Try this. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're talking shop.
That's what, and I said to a buddy, he said, you're going to talk about the Blue Beetle? And I went, dude, combine Fox for Batman, right? Mm-hmm. With Batman. Make Batman a genius. You now have Blue Beetle.
Yeah, because he makes all his own stuff.
Right.
Bruce Wayne does it.
He has to go get his stuff built.
Bruce Wayne doesn't. And see, the actor you're referring to before from the Blacklist is, oh my God, I'm going to say his name wrong. Diego Klanentehoff.
Wow.
Yeah.
He does not look like a Diego.
First name's Diego. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot the right actor. Then yes. Wow.
Yeah, I did find him too. I did find him as well.
Yeah. Can you not see him as Ted Kord?
Yes, I can. Mm-hmm. Yes, I can. He's very reminiscent. He's very similar to me as Alan Rickson, the guy who played Reacher right now on the Amazon show.
Reacher. Yeah. The guy from Teen Titans.
Yes, exactly. Who played Hawk? Exactly. He reminds me a little bit of him. So yeah, I could definitely see him playing Blue Beetle. Yep.
But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that like mean chiseled look. If you catch my drift.
But I think the character has to have charm.
He's got the right chin to go under that hood with the goggles. If you catch my drift,
I do.
You have to have the smiling. Right chin to be.
You see him smiling, or just in a normal? Yeah, I would.
I'm
definitely
really sad that we can't make it with Nathan Fillion.
Yeah. I know. See, we cast Nathan Fillion in one of our older shows as to be Corsair from the Starjammers.
Oh,
yeah, that was one of the plots there. That yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. It's like, okay, yeah, I can see that. But you know what, Larry, we're gonna have to wrap this one up. But it was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And that is a serious piece of artwork you did right there. That is beautiful, man. So looking forward to me and you are gonna hook up, and when I have that in my hands, we were gonna raffle that off. Yeah, we'll raffle it off to whatever fan and do it that way. So that sounds like a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. My pleasure. We will definitely have you on again very soon because we can talk about Captain Thunder, Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. But on that note, everybody, thank you once again for tuning into the Iconist podcast. Big round of applause to Larry Smith. Pleasure having you on here, Larry. So on behalf of myself, Barry 3D, DJ Rod C, remember, this whole world was created by a pencil, a piece of paper, and imagination. Keep on dreaming.
Let's do it.
Good night.
Good night.